I now give the floor to Ms. Frances Zainoeddin, a representative of the International Federation on Aging and a member of the NGO Committee on Aging in New York, to make her statement. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too would like to add my condolences to the people of Turkey and Syrian Arab Republic at this very difficult time. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am an older person and one of the oldest old. I have 2 young granddaughters, and I hope that when they grow up, they will not have to still fight for their rights as women and eventually as older women. I count myself lucky. I have a home, sufficient food, a pension. I am active and have access to some of the best health services in the world. But there are millions who are less fortunate. On this 20th anniversary of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, MIPA, many countries have reported great strides in its implementation, and we applaud their efforts. But how do we grade this implementation when the vast majority of COVID-19 deaths were people over the age of 60? Even with MIPA, findings show that older persons around the world continue to face persistent barriers preventing their autonomy, identity, and independence. Even with MIPA, older persons with disabilities, older Indigenous peoples, and older LGBTQ+ are at greater risk because of overlapping inequalities that create and compound deprivation and disadvantage. Even with MIPA, violence against older women thrives on a culture of silence, both in the family and in institutions. Older women have been branded as witches, stripped of their property, lynched, and burned to death. To the youth delegates here, we know that ageism and age discrimination also affect you, sanctioned by harmful customs and tradition. But we have much more in common with issues of health, education, skills training, employment, economic security. If I am the older person of today, make no mistake, you are the older persons of tomorrow. We must all insist on a life course approach. Without swift and bold action by governments to ensure that aging policies are human rights-based, you, the future generations of older persons, may face even more inequality and economic insecurity. For the first time ever in the review of MIPA, there was acknowledgement by some member states in all 5 regions that an international legal instrument to protect the rights of older persons would complement and reinforce MIPA. Distinguished delegates, in his recommendations, the Secretary General called on you, and I quote, to work individually and collaboratively to promote and protect the human rights of older persons, including through efforts devoted to developing an international legal instrument, end of quote. Such a legal instrument, being addressed by the open-ended Working Group on Aging, would codify the human rights of older persons, establish a common understanding of definitions and minimum standards of practice, as well as improve accountability and transparency. It is time to protect the human rights of older persons. I thank you.
I thank the representative of the NGO Committee on Aging for her statement.